which we will remember fondly. Silver awards, excellence in writing, superintendent's columns in the Independent Tribune, our very own Dr. Louder. Image graphic design, school choice, and social media graphics. Category of marketing, Boost and Brag and Socialpedia. And photography, certainly Mount Pleasant Middle School groundbreaking and bonfire, the J.M. Robinson High School state basketball champions, and Lemonade Boy, not Iced Tea. And the Bronze Award, the electronic media, all fired up, welcome back video, which all of us participated in. So Dr. Loud, if you would please, best of the best. Best of the best for marketing, Instagram takeover. Best of the best, here you go, sorry. This is the Gold Award. And best of the best digital media engagement.
All right, that is outstanding. Thank you, media team, for all you do, for keeping us informed. All right, board members, we're at the approval of minutes, and as you will note, there are basically 4 sets of minutes that we have to approve. January 3rd, work session, January 9th business meeting, January 18th quarterly meeting, and the January 21st mid-year planning session. Is there a motion to approve all of the minutes as written?
Well, before that,
Yes, sir.
I don't know what the protocol necessarily is for adjusting the minutes, but the minutes on January 18th, on page 1 at the bottom, the protocol for board information request. I remember there was a pretty robust discussion about making sure that employees were comfortable speaking to board members, and I remember Mr. Enriquez had, just several specific thoughts about that. I don't know if it was on tape, but it was a pretty vigorous discussion that was just sort of omitted in its entirety. I don't know what the paraphrasing of that would be, but maybe there could be something that is put in there about that discussion. I think it was this agenda item, if I remember correctly.
All right.
Does that mean pull it out or pull it out and do it next meeting?
Yes, we can have this pulled out, and yes, Mr. Walter.
And also correct my spelling of my name would be appreciated.
All right, so the January 18th doesn't have your name spelled correctly either. All right, so there is basically, Mr. Powell has suggested that we remove the minutes from the January 18th to make them a little more accurate and include some of the conversation that was contained in that.
More detailed is
Yes.
basically what you're asking for.
Well, just inclusive of that piece of the discussion, just to make sure it's in the record of what Mr. Enriquez's comments were about staff members feeling comfortable talking to board members and so forth.
All right. So that will mean that we'll need a revised motion. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of January 3rd, January 9th, and January 21st? We will be leaving out January 18th and letting them go back for a little rework. All right, so Ms. Furtenbaugh makes the motion, Mr. Furr seconds in that motion, and so we will be approving only the minutes from January 3rd, January 9th, and January the 21st. Okay, is there any more discussion, board members? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the 3 sets of minutes that we just discussed, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, that motion carries. That will move us on to the board chair comments. And the only comment that I have is that I encourage our parents to go to the website and look at our 10-year plan, which was just recently adopted by the board, well, that we hopefully will adopt tonight, but it has a lot of detail. We have shared it with the commissioners and will be continuing to share it with others. So we want them to know what's ahead of us in the world of growth. It is challenging our school system, and now I'll move over to Dr. Louder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I begin, I want to congratulate once again all the students and staff members we recognized earlier this evening. We did have a few more recognitions tonight because we were making up for loss of those recognitions for weather. Tonight's recognitions showcase the variety of individuals in our district who are doing great work in our schools and in our community, so we appreciate all their hard work. I'm excited to share we have unveiled the new tagline for our district. It was inspired by our vision and mission, which were released back in May with a new strategic plan. The tagline is Engaging Minds, Shaping Futures, and it illustrates and interprets our mission of empowering students to build their futures. I also want to congratulate our technology department, which was featured in the winter edition of Toggle Magazine, a quarterly trade journal. You can read the article on our district website at www.cabarrus.k12.nc.us. Last week, we celebrated our school counselors during National School Counseling Week. Our counselors provide an invaluable service, and we are grateful for the work they do to support our students' academic, social, and emotional needs. We're also celebrating Black History Month and Career and Technical Education Month. Cabarrus County Schools also received a Digital Learning Award from Novation, a provider of digital content. Cabarrus County Schools was selected as one of the top 100 school districts in the United States based on our usage of iCurio during the 2015-16 school year. iCurio is used to introduce classroom-ready digital learning resources which maximize teaching and learning experiences and enhance a district's overall digital transformation. Looking ahead, we want to remind everyone that this coming Friday, February 17th, is an early dismissal day for all students, and also that kindergarten registration is scheduled for April 3rd through 7th. And so we are proud to welcome and register the class of 2030. Thank you.
Wow. I hope I can live to that date. That seems a long way away, doesn't it? Of course, I remember when year 2000 was a long way away for some of you folks, but anyway. All right, that moves us on to the approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Do we have guest speakers?
Oh, yes, I missed it, sorry. Ms. Claudette Smith is our guest speaker, and before she comes up, I'd like to just read the, thank you, Mr. Powell. I'd like to read about our guest speakers. In accordance with Board Policy 2310 as revised by the board on May 11th, a part of each business meeting will be set aside for citizens to address the board. Sign-up cards will be available for any individual or group to indicate their desire to address the board. Speakers must hand a completed card to the board clerk no later than 6 p.m., which is the normal start time of the regularly scheduled monthly business meeting. The board chair will decide the time devoted to public comments, and speakers must complete a contact information card including their name, group name if applicable, address, and phone number, and list the general education-related topic of their presentation for the board minutes. As I noted, Ms. Claudette Smith is our speaker tonight, and her subject is the grievance procedure and student enrollment school choice. So, Ms. Smith, if you'll please come forward.
I have some forms. I don't have enough for everybody, but I want to stop. Okay, I'm here once again on behalf of my daughter Kennedy, who would like to attend Central Cabarrus High School STEM program instead of Northwest High School's STEM program. Reason being low college enrollment for African Americans. I filed.
Hold on, Ms. Smith.
I'm sorry.
We couldn't hear you speaking at the very beginning.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Ms. Monroe, could you restart her? 'Cause I just want to, because your mic wasn't on and you were speaking kind of low, so I
I'm
couldn't hear
sorry.
a word you said. That's fine. Now we're ready for you. Thank you.
Okay. I'm here once again on behalf of my daughter Kennedy, who would like to attend Central Cabarrus High School STEM program instead of Northwest High School's STEM program, reason being low college enrollment for African Americans. I filed 2 grievances. The first was answered with a letter from Mr. Basilis that did not address the fact that I filed a grievance. The second was answered by Christy Bullock, followed by a meeting with Lynn Reimer, an informal meeting. I was told by Ms. Reimer that my issue was not grievable. The first grievance stated that I wanted my daughter to be able to attend Central. That was the grievance that I presented. But the second stated policies that I was grieving, and I felt as though they had been violated, misinterpreted, or misapplied. Neither have been through the process. During the meeting with Ms. Reimer, I was told that no policies had been violated. I was wrong about my information. She went as far as stating that your attorneys say that I'm wrong about the information I was quoting. I asked for Ms. Reimer's numbers and was given numbers from a student survey. Ms. Reimer, as well as the principal from Northwest High School, are under the impression that numbers for college enrollment come from a student survey, which is given during the student's senior year. That is not accurate. The number is actually collected from the UNC system as well as of all the community colleges in North Carolina. When I brought this to Ms. Reimer's attention and asked for accurate data, I was told that, quote, "You have been sent all the information there is, explained it multiple times. You are incorrect in your statements about students that attend college after high school from CCS. You have been given the correct information. I'm happy to answer questions concerning anything else you may request. However, I will not respond to this request again." Right now, I would like to know if any of you are familiar with Casey Elander? No? She is a senior data analyst in the Data Research and Federal Policy Division and collaborates on all federal data reporting requirements. I passed out an email with which Ms. Elander sent me, which it tells you who she is. I serve as senior data analyst in the Data Research and Federal Policy Division here at the agency and collaborate on all agency federal data reporting requirements. As I outlined in our call, every fall, NC DPI sends a list of our graduates from previous school, as well as graduates 2 years prior to both UNC and the community colleges. They both in turn return to us 2 files, one with students who have enrolled within 16 months of graduation in a UNC campus or a community college campus, and another with those that completed courses within 24 months of enrollment. These files are matched using the NCUID and an identifier that follows students from PK through NC College. These data are not only collected for SRC, but also reported annually to be used as part of our federal reporting requirements as part of the race to the top. She goes on to say that they do use part of that graduation verification survey to count those students who enroll out of state or in private universities, as they have no way to actually collect those data. What this all means is that the data set available to you on the SRC website under Resources for Researchers does show the actual enrollment and course completion as defined by our federal guidelines for our graduates that entered either a UNC campus or an NC Community College campus. So the numbers that I have presented come from that website, which shows that from Central, and this is what's updated. That's all I can do is present what is updated. Central Cabarrus High School, 11%. Concord High School, 16%. Northwest Cabarrus High, 10%. It's right here, black and white. I passed it out. So what Ms. Reimer has sent me is that,
Ms. Smith,
I'm sorry.
you've overrun your time. Do you have much more to say?
I would like to just have my grievance heard in front of you. That's why I'm here, because I filed the process and I just can't get it heard. I'm being told it's not grievable. So that's what I'm just asking for, a chance to present my evidence.
Thank you very much. All right, board members, that carries us to the next item, which is the approval of consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as written? Mr. Furr makes the motion. Mr. Harrison seconds that motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, that motion carries 7-0, and that moves us on to our action agenda items, which will take us to 10.2, and that is the approval of the 10-year capital plan. Ms. Reimer and Mr. Tim Louder will come to the podium. And board members, Mr. Louder presented this to us in our work session last week. Are there any additional questions or comments about the 10-year plan at this point? Mr. Walter.
Just briefly review the changes from this year to last year. There's 3 changes, is that correct?
There were the changes from this year, from last year to this year. We've added a PLC for $4 million to be built in a standalone facility. We have moved the middle school from 2020 to 2022 due to the fact that we're going to build a new PLC and free up additional seats at the middle school. J.N. Freeze allows us to be able to delay that for 2 years. And the third is, instead of replacing Central Cabarrus High School in 2022, we will ask to build a totally new high school for growth. Those are the 3 changes.
And the cost change to that?
Cost changes added $14 million to the ask for the budget. Instead of being 264, it's $278 million.
So we're being asked to ask for $14 million more than we did last
$14
year?
million over the next 5 years, yes, sir.
Ms. Carpenter.
And that's the first 5 years,
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
saying, the first 5 years. And the total for the whole 10-year plan was, what was that?
630-some million dollars.
And the only thing I'd like to
It's
state,
300+ million dollars.
300 plus. And this is a plan. As we say, as we showed this year, we did change a few things. And with our growth pattern as it is, we're gonna look on this, if I'm not correct, everybody correct me if I'm wrong, but we will review this each year because as we know, the growth we're having, we may have to move things up again. Because we are going out and looking at the houses as they're being built because they'll put something on the books and it may not start this year, or it may go ahead and start and something else pop up. We are seeing these building permits being permitted daily and changing daily. So next year something could change and we may have to move something else up. So as it says, this is a 10-year plan. And our growth is just growing.
We spent all day in the field today just trying to verify that those developments that are under development are continuing to develop and make sure that our numbers we're getting from the county is accurate based upon, the build out. So we're working on that to make sure as accurate as possible where those houses will be built and geographically where those schools should be located, which is probably going to be the biggest change in our plan is geographically what school comes next.
And one of the things we do take into consideration, we do take we look at the population growth, but too, we want to get input from our stakeholders, our families, our individuals, because we hear something new every day. Some people say, oh, don't touch that historical building. Coulter Webb, a lot of these buildings. But then the other end of it is, we have to look at the safety factor. We have to look at, the best learning environment for our children. But we do listen to the community and what's happening in the community. So we have to take every facet and the best learning environment. The learning environment changes every day. What we used to think, many years when I was in school, it was a pencil and paper, but now we have the tablet or we have the virtual TVs. It's a whole different environment. So we change with the times.
Mr. Walter.
I know you've given this presentation several times to our community and stakeholders. Have we gotten any feedback from the community or from those meetings that we ought to be aware of before we vote on this?
We did have another presentation this past week with our teachers council and our parent council, and we got some very positive feedback. They all felt very pleased that we were trying to make a long-term plan because they knew the growth was hitting us between the eyes, and continuing to add mobile units is just not the way to go. So we're going to obviously have to have schools probably even quicker than we asked for them, but the bottom line is our ability for the county to be able to pay is probably going to be the driving dividend on how fast they're built. So I'm sure we would need schools much faster than they could probably build them for, or at least fund them for us, I guess is the best way to say it. So, yeah, the feedback has been very positive, and they were very appreciative of us sharing that information with them. And like you said, some people, the opposite side said, you know, when are you going to give me a new facility? I'm in a 70-year-old school, so, you know, we have both sides of that coin, you know, one historical and then also saying, you know, when I'm going to get something that's comparable to the newer schools you're building, so.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Furtenbaugh.
in light of the work that the staff has done, and I think the board has been well informed, and the commissioners, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the 10-year capital.
All right, Ms. Furtenbaugh makes the motion. Mr. Harrison seconds that. Is there any more discussion on this motion? All right, let's vote, board members. All in favor of approving the 10-year capital plan as it is written, say aye. 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 Opposed, say nay. All right, that motion carries 7-0. We've adopted the 10-year capital plan, and next year it will probably be revised, just like it was last year. And I do want to take this one opportunity to thank the commissioners. Our county commissioners have worked diligently with us, worked with us for the last 3 years trying to work on growth issues and plan things out. They also helped us purchase the property for the new high school last year as we had outlined in the plan, and so they're working with us, and they are very aware that the plan will probably change next year as we go forward. So thank you again. All right, board members, is there a motion to convene in closed session?
I make a motion that we convene in closed session, if you'll give the numbers and everything that we need.
I will, as soon as I get a second. Is there a second to that motion? Second. All right, Mr. Furr makes the second.
Okay,
So,
are we going to come back out here for open session once the closed session's done, or do we?
well, we weren't planning to come back out here, but we will be moving 10.1 to the end of our open session, so we will reconvene in open session, and we'll just see who may be around at that point, Mr. Walter. How about that? We'll play that one by ear. Excuse me. So the board's going to convene in closed session. There's been a motion made pursuant to General Statute 143.318.11A3 to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body and to preserve attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged pursuant to General Statute 143.318.11A6 to consider qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee, or to hear or investigate a complaint, charge, or grievance by or against an individual public officer or employee pursuant to General Statute 115C-319 through 321 and pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A8 to formulate plans by a local board of education relating to emergency response to incidents of school violence, or to formulate and adopt the school safety components of school improvement plans by a local board of education or a school improvement team. Board members, let's vote on this. All in favor of going into closed session, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. We are now in closed session.